Welcome to our very first podcast.
Oh, this is so exciting.
I know, finally.
I know. Everyone who follows us on Instagram, in our bios, we have Honestly Podcast linked. And they're always like, when is it going to come?
Oh, it's been there for like 2 years.
2 years, 1 year.
I feel like. I mean, the idea came about 2 years ago. But in this podcast, we're gonna talk about what the podcast is about, how we came up with the name.
Yeah.
Just everything behind it. But first, we're going to do a proper intro. So, my name is Zoria.
My name is Zinia.
And we are twins. We're 22. Well, we're about to be 22 years old.
Woo-hoo.
And we are Christian. We love the Lord. And our hearts are to serve Him in everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
We've always wanted to do YouTube, but I feel like we've never really had, pursued our purpose fully.
Yeah.
And I feel like over the years, ever since even before we graduated high school, we knew we were supposed to be on social media, have some kind of platform. And I feel like it was kind of forced a lot of the time. But it was only until 2 years ago when we were this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And it was becoming more clear.
Yeah. And one day in our very first apartment, I think we were midway into the lease. I think I picked up Zoe from work. And she said that she was thinking about starting a podcast. And we were kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. But I really feel like we had another name for the podcast, and I can't remember it. But I remember we came up
we were going back and forth with truthfully or something
like
that.
And then we were honestly.
Because I said, I had a little nugget. And I said at the end of what we say, God is good. And at the end of and honestly, it's about the roots. And I said something like that. And I just said it all together. And we were that's so cute. Yeah. We're going to keep it.
And I'm going to say it. Honestly, I love the name of it because it is honesty. And I think the Bible is built off not only God's love, but the honest truth that sets people free. And we really like talking about politics and the controversial topics, and we just want to be honest about it. And sometimes even being honest about it, when we decided that our biblical standing was going to be founded in God, it even offends us maybe sometimes. But if we're telling the truth without shame, I guess, we're set free from that, and we're all learning together. So it's kind of like our ministry. It's you get to come along with us. It's not us saying we went through this, now we're telling you, don't do it.
We're growing, and the whole point is for us to be truly honest about just our growth and our biblical growth and our growth in just life as women. Whatever comes along, in the future when we get married and we buy houses and all these things, just to be honest with where we are and telling our testimony at some point. I know I want to do, but
it's gonna be a juicy
one.
one.
It's not to say that we know the truth, everything we say is true,
because it's our truth. You know how people say, if that's your truth and his truth and their truth, it's just it doesn't matter what your truth, which is pretty much a jizzied up way of saying your opinion. We need to have a stern foundation in biblical truth that steers us in the direction of not only the glory of God, but the things that are good and gracious to us.
Yes, the things that are ultimately going to be better for us.
Yes.
So, yes, that's how we came up with Honestly, basically.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to start a podcast because, everybody knows podcast is the thing. I don't even know. I mean, I guess it still is a thing, but everybody and their mom wanted to have a podcast.
I feel like you came up with wanting to have a podcast right before it really exploded. I think it was it was little whispers in the YouTube sphere.
Yeah. I just felt it because I hadn't really listened to a podcast. The only podcast I ever listened to was with Jefferson Bethke and his wife. And that was when we were in high school, but I didn't even really understand podcasts then. And then we watched a lot of KK and Baby J. Yeah. And they started a podcast. And then
I was getting so aggravated because it took us so long. And I guess the reason why it took us so long to start is that we honestly believe it's all going to happen in God's timing, because we believe this is our purpose. Not necessarily the podcast, but just being voices for the voiceless or being voices for the kingdom. I really believe that's where we're supposed to be going. But it was so frustrating when we came up with this idea and almost no one had a podcast, and then it was like bam, 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 bam. KK Baby J, Sasan and Steve, if you know who they are.
The Good Life Podcast, love them.
As for me and my house, that's Melena and Jordan. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, like everybody is getting their start. Granted, they did have a platform before they started, and we're really coming from the ground up.
Yeah.
Which is gonna, even with that, I think you're gonna see God's work in that, because we believe this is our purpose. I don't think it's gonna take us very long to reach lots of people, because we're doing this for the good King.
So yeah, that's how we came up with Honestly. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it more and more, and I can't wait to look back on this first episode, like on our 100th episode, or our year anniversary, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And think about like how far we've come, because like we said, it's been a long time coming. But I feel like we are so particular, and we want to be
perfectionists.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of perfectionist, or both of us are, and we don't want to just put out sloppy work. Like, I just can't. I can't do it. Like, even in my work, like jobs outside of YouTube or anything else, like I think that's part of the reason why I am looking forward to the day where I could do this full time. Yeah. Because I give my all in everything that I do. Yeah. And that's the way it should be. I mean, the Bible says to have, well, does the Bible say that? What? I was gonna say that just having a spirit of excellence.
Yes, the Bible does say some things about excellence. And it's just really, I feel like when you pursue excellence, it does not mean you're pursuing perfection. And if you go and follow me on, not YouTube, on Instagram, Zinia Lachey, I made a post about being perfect in practicing, and how practicing requires failure. Because if you're not failing,
you're perfect.
You're perfect. Yeah. And we are not perfect. We are imperfect, and that's why we need God. So
and we talk a lot.
Yeah, we do talk a lot. That was another thing that we really pushed us to make a podcast, because
we have these kind of conversations all the time in the car.
Yeah. Like with our parents.
Yeah, with our parents. I mean, before then, it was really just us, because we had just moved out and got our first apartment, and we're always talking to each other. Yeah. And we always just talk about how we want husbands in the future that we're going to be in agreement with. We want friends that we're in agreement with. Not to say that you won't ever fight or argue, whatever it may be, but like to be able to sit down and have a conversation and your basis is the same. We thought that was awesome.
It makes things way more easier, because it's not me fighting against you. It makes it more apparent if the issue is big enough that I'm fighting against that demon that is either in your ear, behind you, influencing you. And the love I have for you is to remind you, hey, our basis comes from this foundation. Yeah.
And I can't argue.
Yeah, an unshakable one. Like I can just imagine myself in the future talking to my husband. He says some crazy stuff, and I'll say, you know what? Let's see what God's got to say about it. And I flip
open it up with Jesus.
I flip open the scriptures, and I'll say, this is what he says. Yeah. And it's not up for your interpretation, my interpretation. It's his interpretation, what he wanted it for you, and what it is, and what it will be, and what it will forever
just reading
be.
What it says,
right?
Because again, like we said, our basis is biblical. Yeah. And I know our kind of theme of this podcast has changed a lot. I feel like, I mean, it's been the same kind of basis, but at first we wanted to talk about, we still are, but talk about controversial subjects. We wanted to kind of like shine light on it and talk about it in a biblical view and a world view. And I think we still will do that, but it's kind of turned more into a growth, and that's why I'm proud that we didn't like just jump right into it and try to like just start the podcast, because I feel like that's how you get in trouble. Like you want to make sure your intentions are pure and that they are, I guess, like set in stone and on track. Like I don't want to go like 5 years from now saying, oh, we're actually going to change the direction of Honestly. Like I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah. To piggyback off of what Zoria was saying, when we first got into wanting to do the podcast, maybe with like a few months later, into moving into our second apartment, we got really, really, really into politics. And we started learning so much, and that was like on the forefront of our brains for about a few months straight, and even still now, especially with the climate right now. So, when she was saying that we were kind of flip-flopping back and forth with what the direction of the podcast was going to be, I remember it was one day after church, we were sitting in the car. Zoria was about to get out the car to go to work, and we were writing down all these topics that we want to talk about, and it was like abortion, president, all these people, and it's just like, okay, let's take a step back and realize that these topics are important, and we should talk about it, obviously, because it's an Honestly podcast. Mm-hmm. But the whole point, like I said in the beginning, it's our ministry. It is our journey. You get to take it with us, and we also get to take it with you. Mm-hmm. And we're doing this alongside with God, with His Word in mind. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we're talking about, it came from love, grace, a genuine personality from both of us, and not a perfect, you got to do what I got to do to be great. Yeah. Because
we're not
great. I think the joy in being honest is that
it's freedom.
It's freedom. Like, you don't have to feel the shame of what's going on in your life if you let it out right then and deal with it head on. And it doesn't have to happen in public. But if you deal with it right then, it's not something that is haunting you. It's something that you can cope with, and you know that the people, if you surround yourself around a good group of people, can help and love you through. So we were really like going back and forth with the podcast, but I think we have decided that we are going to keep on the good path of just growth, just growing with each other and loving one another. And we really wanted our podcast to be kind of a fun place you can come.
I was going to say that.
Like a serious topic, but we're having fun about it.
Yeah, we're like kind of just like almost casually talking about it. Yeah. Like I don't want it to be so heavy. Like there's other people that have podcasts that we love listening to that are heavy. Yeah. But we thought that for our podcast, we wanted to reach more than just our Christian family. Yeah. We wanted to reach people that are doubtful, the doubtful believer. We wanted to teach people We wanted to talk to people or reach people that that probably didn't have a faith at all, but could still listen to our podcast and say, wow, those girls are awesome. They're so fun. Maybe they have merit to what they're saying. Maybe they don't, whatever it may be. But
just to promote thought. Yeah. Like I said, not so much coming from what we think, to really direct everything back to God. So like when we're talking, you can't really get upset with us. And we'll always let you know when an opinion is shining through. Yes. But you can't really get upset with us when we're reading directly from the Word. Now you can get upset with the Word. Yeah. And you can be like, I'm not with that. But that doesn't take away the character of myself. The issue is with someone else, which we'll be praying for. Oh my gosh. Okay. But anyways, I guess on a lighter note, I think all this is light.
I mean, I think I was going to say that on top of us coming up with the title, honestly, I've been told, especially by my mother, but my whole life, that I am a little blunt. Like, both of us are a little blunt. Like, I usually tell people how it is. I feel like I don't really sugarcoat anything. Even though I feel like I do, people have told me that I don't really sugarcoat anything. Yeah. Like, even at work, because we've always been in some kind of leadership and management. Yeah. And so I feel like I can be really blunt. And I pray all the time that God work on my grace, work on my humility. And again, I thought that I had to have that fixed before I could start this. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's called Honestly. And I was thinking I could grow through this. And as long as I'm being honest and letting you know that this is something I'm dealing with, if you take issue with it, I mean, it's expected because I already told you it was an issue. Right. So I mean,
what are you doing? What are you trying to prosecute me for?
So, like, yeah. So, I mean, and we've already, like, throughout our entire life, I feel like we've always been somewhat of the black sheep and having a differing opinion than a lot of people. And honestly, for me, I just think it was godly wisdom that was just on us since we were children.
Not just with everyday people, like even our family. Yeah. We've kind of always been like the outside with a different perspective, with a different view on things. And that's not to say that our parents and our family don't come from a Christian background, because I do credit them for exposing that to us, and that's what really started it all. But like she said, I think we came with
I mean, we were just, I feel like we were just always meant for more.
Yeah, we came with that. And I think our whole family came with that. It's
and I'm sure everybody has something.
It's so different when you decide to act on it.
Yeah.
And when you start to act on it, it's like, that's when people's eyebrows start raising, like,
well, I mean, and even
so you're really serious about this.
It's just like the more I think about it with like social media in general, it wasn't a mistake that you and I are twins. It wasn't a mistake that we came together, and we're twins that are not different, like opposites. You know, you meet like opposite twins. That's like one is like really like girly, punk rock, and one is really girly. Like we like the same things. We have the same style, just about, maybe with little tweaks. Like we have our individual characteristics, but I don't think that was an accident. I think that was purposeful by God, because even growing up, we wanted to be separate. Yeah. We wanted, like, we both sing, and I'm sure y'all, time will come. But I didn't want to sing with Zinia. I wanted to be a star all by myself.
Solo.
I want to be a solo artist. And then we started growing up. I was like, I am such a fool. Why would I want to separate myself from her? Because, like I said, it was becoming so evident that God wanted us did together. Something on purpose. Yeah. And I mean, we started going to church more and more and started building that faith on our own. Yeah. Aside from what your parents, like, you know, when your parents forced you to go to church when you're younger. Which it was never really a force for us. We always wanted to go. Yeah. But, I don't know. There's just always been something different about us, and we're sticking together. And I mean, we're stronger together. And the Bible even says that 2 is better than 1, but 3 is not easily broken. And it's me, Zinia, and Jesus.
Ah, she said that.
So we good.
You said that. But I think that is so true, because I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, I don't know why y'all are trying to do this to me, but I was never meant to be by myself. I didn't even come in this world by myself. I was with someone the entire time, and even before Zoria was a thought, which I think we were made together, but even before her, I was with the good Lord. So I was never alone, and I should never be alone. Yeah. And I never will be alone.
Amen, sis.
So the constant trying to separate, we've had teachers that try to separate us. We've had a teacher that really was
trying to like almost turn us against each other.
Yeah, turn us against each other in high school, and I just could not wrap my head around that. I don't know where it came from. It was like one day it was like so clear that she did not want me to be in any connection to Zoria. And I was like, she's taking it so far of saying that
she told me.
She said
she told me that, I'm sorry to tell you, but your sister's using you. And I know you don't see it, but she's using you. And I'm like, what? First of all, who do you think you are?
Right? Like,
this is my sister.
I'm supposed to be like, you're totally right. I can't stand that. For real.
Like, what the heck? And, I mean, again, we know that people are growing. People make mistakes. So I'm not, like, holding her to that. Like, I'm not gonna.
But she was a grown woman. She should have not done that.
That was inappropriate.
Her position did not require that at all. Yeah. But she's taking it as far as telling my sister or Zoria happy birthday and not me, or saying congratulations when we graduated and not me. Yeah. Like, or saying hey to Zoria in the hallway and not me. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but people who act like teenagers. And that travels with you. Yeah. Like, when you decide not to grow up, the little pettiness, if it's not in high school, it's going to be in the workplace. If it's not in the workplace, it's going to be in a marriage or a friendship or even church. Yeah. Sometimes people can get a little petty in church. Yes. In college, all that stuff. You really have to make a conscious decision to not be like that. Yeah. It's a personality trait that people have taken on that needs to be thrown in the trash, honestly.
But we are forgivers. Yes. So, I mean, especially if we're going to ask, I know we're going to do something stupid in the future. I mean, it's just.
I mean, we've already done dumb stuff.
It's coming, I already know. It's just a matter of time. I mean, we're going to pray that God leads us and we are not trying to step ahead of him. But throughout this podcast, our social media, and everything we're trying to do, if we're going to be asking for forgiveness, I want to be able to extend forgiveness. Yes. So, I mean, we're not holding any grudges toward that situation, but it is something that happened.
You have to remember that forgiveness is not for that person, to be honest. It's good. Yeah. It's good to give it to them. Some people need an apology to make them feel better. for me personally, I've always taken it's like you say sorry after you are genuinely sorry for what you've done. So like I've had instances where I may have been mad, rightfully so, but after the fact, I sit and I think and I'm like, okay, I could have said that better. I said some things just in spite. Like, that wasn't me being right. That was just me being mean.
Yeah.
And once I feel that regret and that, I dare say, like, shame, once I feel that, it's just like, okay, I have to forgive myself. And then I have to go and extend that forgiveness to that person. And that's when I think it comes from a genuine place of forgiveness. It's not just saying sorry as soon as something happens. It's just a word.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, just like love, is an action word. It requires action. You can't say I love you and treat me like poo-poo. And you can't say you're sorry and continue to treat me like poo-poo.
And to make sure, we're gonna, like, this podcast, just so you guys know, is right off the top.
Yeah,
right off the dome. So we have an issue about going off topic sometimes. So we're gonna try to keep each other on topic. But this one, since it's the intro, we're just kind of talking.
You're kind of getting to know us.
Yeah.
Fun fact: you have just realized that we get off topic.
Yes,
that is us.
So we're working with future podcasts. We're gonna create outlines.
Yeah.
And make sure that we stay on topic, or give us a certain amount of time to talk. But I mean, what was I gonna say? I think I was gonna say, like, I agree with you. Like, forgiveness is for the other person.
It's for you.
Well, sorry.
Not them.
It's for you.
It's for you.
Not for the other person.
And then you extend that to that person. That way, when you go to that person and you say sorry, you're not
depending on
you're not looking for affirmation. You're looking for, you know what, I've realized I've done something wrong. I'm going to say this to you because I know I hurt you.
Yeah.
But I've already been forgiven by God. I've been forgiven by myself, and the devil has no hold on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I am vocally saying to you, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And if that person goes, I don't care about your little apology,
that's something they have to do.
And then you can walk away
because
from that with a
at that
conscience.
point, they're the ones holding the grudge.
Right.
But as long as you're genuine.
Yes.
So, again, I was saying, we're going to make mistakes. Yeah. It's going to come. I already know. We talk a lot. And I'm not really ashamed of it. I think it's on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that we have each other to hold each other accountable.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk a little bit about some of the topics we're going to be talking about. Like,
the juicy stuff.
And that's not going to depth. I'm just going to, just throw it out there.
And then you tune in.
Yes, and you'll tune in. Also, I know we didn't say in the beginning, but the podcasts are going to be airing every single Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And I know also on all our platforms, I'll have all of our links down below. But honestly, podcast has its own Instagram. Mm-hmm. It just has 2 T's at the end.
Mm-hmm. And YouTube channel.
Yeah, so we have a YouTube channel, and that's where you're hearing this now.
Well, no, you should hear it everywhere.
We have not, even though we have it saying it's streaming on all platforms. I have to look into how to make that happen. Well, so for right now, for sure, it's going to be on YouTube.
YouTube is going to be I guess the first place you'll hear it if we don't figure it out. But I'm sure we can, because we figured out Anchor that allows you to do it for free, and it streams on, I think, Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts.
Well, just in case,
if it doesn't,
I'm gonna say, I'm just saying that all of our social media says it's streaming on all platforms, but if that's not happening yet,
it's gonna be on YouTube.
It's definitely on YouTube.
Yes,
and that's where we're gonna be posting from now on. Well, it's gonna be on everything. Every time we post, it's gonna be on YouTube. But until we can figure it out, and that's definitely on everything else, find it here.
Right.
But some topics that we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to say a couple, then I'll let you say some.
Okay.
So I would like to say, just starting off, that Zinia talked about how we were really into politics and we moved into our second apartment.
Yeah.
And it was not on purpose, because I used to be somebody that did not care about politics. I was like, I'm a Bible believing Christian, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So some of the things I want to talk about is abortion. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the presidency, but not in a way that's going to make you like I don't want to force you to vote for anybody, but I do want to just talk about the facts of candidates, because I think it's really important, because we've only voted one time and we were not informed. Right. And we just voted just based on things that we heard. Yeah. On news or just in general, just kind of conjured up in our brain, a friend said. So I want to talk about like the things that you should look at before you vote. Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm sorry to cut you off, but like you're saying, the importance of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I guess to anchor it on that Bible verse, it says, "My people perish because of a lack of knowledge." Yeah. And that is so true, because even in the climate that we're in now, we see that people are self-destructing right before us because they don't know any better. Yeah. So, again, honestly, it's here to let you know.
So I want to talk about that presidency, basically all the things that people have considered taboo, mm-hmm. the things that you can't openly talk about at work. Honestly, you can't talk about it if you are on the opposing side, I will say. Mm-hmm. If you're on the side of where most people believe in it, you're good to go. But if you are usually on the Christian side of things, like you really can't talk about God at work. You really can't talk about politics at work.
You really can't talk. Yeah. They don't want you to talk. Like, I cannot express how many times a manager has came up to me, pulled me to the side and said, you can't talk about God. You can't talk about going to church. You can't talk about LGBTQ or pride or anything relating to the topic. But when everybody's in agreement, even said manager, everybody is totally fine. No one's offended. But when Miss Zinia got rocking come in, oh my gosh, they're like, And I used to work in Victoria's Secret, and I when I first worked there, I wore this cross ring. It was so like antique, it was so cute, and I didn't really talk too much when I first got there, and people just kind of assumed that I was just awful. Yeah. They were like, "Oh, Zinia doesn't sin. Oh, Zinia doesn't." Yeah, and that was before I even said anything to anyone. Yeah, and also, I think fast forward, I was there for about a year. Past Christmas, I asked for a cross necklace for Christmas, and I got it, and I was wearing that because I broke my ring. It broke my heart. And there was this lady who walked up to the cash wrap, and she saw my necklace. She said, "I like your necklace." And I was like, "Thank you." And she said, "It's so good to know that you're walking around with something good." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "You are heaven sent." That was the nicest thing ever. I love when
little nuggets.
I love when God personally sends me things like that. Oh, I know it's Him.
Cute.
It is cute.
But yeah, I want to talk about that kind of stuff, and I want to also talk about genuine love, because I feel like that's always, that's just misconstrued. I think people are not very clear on what love is, and mm-hmm. I just want to I think we could do a whole podcast about love.
That might be a long one.
I know. So, and I mean, we're just talking until we run out of things to say. Like right now we're at like 28 minutes, which I think we have plenty to say. So, yeah. But yeah, that's like kind of the stuff that I have a vision about the podcast. Just talking about our faith testimonies in the future. We plan on having guests on the show at some point.
I know, that's so exciting.
And it's obviously going to start off with like mom, dad, best friend, good friend from work, co-worker, whatever. Yeah. That are willing to come onto this podcast. But before I let Zinia jump in about some of the things she wants to talk about, I also want to say it is so crazy how ever since we have been saying we want to start a podcast, it has been validated over and over again. Yeah. Even by the people, like YouTubers that we watch that decided to start a podcast. But I've had people come up to me and say, "Y'all are so funny," or "Y'all are, like, I just love y'all so much. Like, do y'all have social media?" Mm-hmm. I even had one girl say, "Y'all should start a podcast." Yeah. And I'm like, actually, we kind of have one. We just haven't posted it yet. And you'll see, if you go follow us at Honestly Podcast, 2 T's of N. Be a link down below. If you go follow us, we only have a couple followers, but every time I get the chance, because at first I was kind of scared to tell people. I don't know why.
I'm really exiting my fear. Yeah. I just want to do what I want to do.
I have been like telling people, like, when I meet them, like, I'm getting more bold about, yes, me and my sister, we do social media. And we have a podcast, and I'm like, you should follow us. And I'm like one of those people now that like, take out your phone.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, here are our links.
Yes.
Because it's linked on every single Instagram. So, like I said, it will be linked down below. Another plug. So, if you go to @Zoria_Lene, you will see Zinia's Instagram, Honesty's Instagram, our joint Instagram,
our YouTube channel.
Everything is linked together, and I have been trying to work really hard to
make sure that it's
make sure that it's seamless, and make sure that if anybody sees us from any platform, that they're able to see everything else that we're doing.
Yeah. And it was so interesting when this whole pandemic thing started, was kind of crossed over into Black Lives Matter.
These are the things that you want to talk about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I made a comment on someone's page. I won't give you all details until we get to the podcast for that specifically, but I made a comment on it, and it was like immediate. Like, I woke up not next morning, because I woke up, I saw it, I made my comment, and like within seconds my phone was blowing up. It did not stop for about 2 to 3 days, and it was like so much pounding. But even with all that, the people who I guess soundly agree with me, they liked my comment, and I got almost 100 new followers on Instagram.
Yeah,
from that post alone. And somebody even ventured, because I know they used the link, they ventured over to my bio and clicked on Zoria's Instagram and commented and said, do you agree with your co-host?
Yeah.
And I was saying, this gonna work. These people, even the haters use the links.
And what was I say? Literally, things go out of my head so fast.
That's why we need an outline.
I know. Okay, so you were talking about how you commented and you got all those people to follow you. Okay, I know what I was going to say.
Okay.
I was going to say that another thing that validated the podcast for me again, and, again, it's been like 2 years, but another thing that validated it for me is that I feel like there's a lot of agreeers with the things that we're going to be talking about, and they're afraid or just don't want to, or whatever it is.
I don't even think you need to say feel. Like, it's just... It's so true.
Yeah, like there's a lot of people that agree, but it is so hard to hear them because they're being drowned out by the people that disagree. And you'll see it all over the news. Yeah. You see it at work. You see it everywhere you go.
People are so scared.
Yeah.
And we want to make a podcast about conformity.
Yeah.
But people are so scared to civilly disobey. Honestly.
But I'm just saying that I want this place to be, because like Zinia said, she gained over 100 followers. Yeah. And those 100 followers weren't the ones commenting the crazy stuff under her posts.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, I agree with her, follow.
But
everybody else, the disagreeers, the haters are gonna be in your comments. The haters are the ones that are gonna be in your DMs.
Yeah, somebody went all the way from that post to a link and scrolled all the way down to one of my pictures. It said I was built like a stack of books. That was so unnecessary.
And I said, get off her page right now.
But also, if that was the only thing you could come up with, I know I struck
something right.
I struck a nerve. So I was like, oh my goodness, like.
But we want this to be.
But I'm willing to take that hit. Yeah. I'm willing to.
We want to create another place for people to feel comfortable with being a part of.
Like, when people say be a voice for the voiceless, that is literally what we want to do. Because I had no clue, because like I had over 100 plus replies to that comment that I left, but I had about 600 plus likes.
Yeah.
So that tells me that I had way more people agreeers and naysayers.
Yeah.
So that's something we're going to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about the climate of the world right now. Black Lives Matter. We just recently exited Pride Month. Me and Zoria, I'm always joking with her that Pride is not LGBTQBB. So
for the BB is
brown and black people.
Brown and black.
And I really want.
Oh, and if y'all didn't know, we're black. Oh, they probably can't see that on the YouTube channel. We're black.
We're black. But I always joke with her, and they're actually talking about adding a P to LGBTQBB.
What's the P?
Pedophile.
What?
Yep.
Okay, see, we can't go into that right now.
We're not gonna go into that. That's a hard topic to talk about. But
really,
they're really talking about doing that, and it's just like, wow.
That's crazy.
Like, what really is this? But we're going to have a podcast about that. And I also want to kind of talk about not so much mask, but like I said, conformity. Yeah. To be willing to civilly disobey and go against the grain of things that may or may not be good for you. Mm-hmm. And because we're in America, we can do that. And we need to start reminding people that we can do that. Mm-hmm. So what's some other things you want to talk about?
It's so many things, like even
pop culture, the like, power of your influence.
A little bit less heavy, I would say. Mm-hmm. Just like, I mean, we have so many things that we want to do. Mm-hmm. Like when Christmas comes around, I'm sure it's gonna be a salute of ideas that I can think of.
We gotta write it down as we go. Yes. I know I want to make a podcast called "The Power in Your No." Yeah. I have just recently entered into a powerful place of telling people no, and it is so weird because as a Christian or as Zinia Drake, mm-hmm. I thought that to be that a nice person, I had to say yes to everything, and in the end, it hurt me. And when I started saying no to these people, they were literally gone at the snap of a finger, mm-hmm. and it wasn't an issue. I didn't have to think about it, and it's like I can say no, yeah, because I used to get so offended when people would tell me no. And I was like, you're so selfish. And some of them were. Yeah. But to understand that they were putting themselves first and looking after their well-being in saying no was powerful. And I had to realize that it's not really selfishness. It is boundaries. It's protection. It is guarding your heart. When you tell people no, that is what I'm not going to allow in my life.
I also want to talk about depression. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping soon that our pastor's book comes out, because that would be the perfect way to frame it. Because we had a couple of sermons about it that were awesome. I think it was great. Mm-hmm. And I used to be one of those people that thought that just stop being sad. Yeah. Just stop doing this.
To even piggyback off of that, I want to talk about suicide. Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, especially, like I said, growth. Me and Zinia and I, mm-hmm. We've been in 2 apartments together. We've been paying our own bills for over a year now. Mm-hmm. Like literally doing things on our own, dependent about like if we're gonna eat.
So we should make a podcast about bills.
Yeah, and even seeing that if you don't like, just kind of growing up and realizing that you have to make a life for yourself. And another thing that we'll probably talk about, we didn't go to college, so we jumped right into working and moving out and having our own bills. And I think with that, a lot of, I dare say, depression came on. It's probably not, I know it's not clinically because I'm not going to claim that on my life. Amen. But we have family members that kind of struggle with it. And even us, like, and even still now, if I don't shake it off, like, I feel myself slipping back into that area of life. And so,
it's kind of like a rut. Yeah. Like, I feel like everybody starts off with a rut and then it falls into depression. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that rut is like that warning ground to like, hey,
you gotta snap out
if you don't get out of this quickly,
it's gonna be
the
bad.
Devil is gonna get in your ear. Yeah. And then from suicide, it drops into suicide.
But what?
From depression, it drops into suicide, and that's where we don't want anyone to be.
And like one thing that I really started thinking about is that, you know what? Why am I disregarding people's life as if I know? Yeah. Like, you know, I said, I used to be somebody that says, what do you mean you're sad? Like, just
stop being sad.
Stop being sad. Be happy.
Smile.
And when I started to experience it for myself, I understood that it is overwhelming. And yes, I believe in the power of God. Yeah. So this is where I came to, and I talked about it last Christmas to my parents. If I believe that God is so powerful and he is strong and can bring us out of anything, it's almost like I have to believe that he can overcome something so awful as depression. Yeah. I feel like I'm almost
obligated.
Well, no, I feel like I'm almost like limiting his power. Yeah. Saying that, oh, well, somebody can't be that sad. Like, they could just get over it. I'm like, no, that is something.
His power
that is so powerful. Like, yes. the stronghold of.
This is so good.
Yes, the stronghold of depression is so powerful. But I believe in a God that's bigger.
Wait,
so that means that he has to be able to help somebody overcome
these things are so big that it requires a big and powerful God to
and just because I haven't experienced it, or just because I don't understand it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that it's like something that you can just handle on your own.
Yeah,
like I believe that we need God in everything that we do. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm explaining it right, but that's kind of like what that's how I kind of started to understand depression. If I believe in a God so powerful, I have to believe that there is some powerful things that you have to overcome. Yeah. It's more than just, I want a husband. Or I like the small things in life. Like he overcomes depression. He can help you overcome suicide, all these things in your life. So who am I to say that, you're not going through anything? Yeah. Like it is something.
You're weighing people's pain. It's just like weighing sin. Yeah. It's not weighable. Sadness is sadness. Depression, despair, all that it's all. It doesn't matter how it happened. It's a feeling that we're all capable of having. And just like sin is something we're all capable of doing and that we have done. Yeah. And we have to remain humble enough to realize that my pain is not greater than yours. My pain is the same, and we can relate on that level and heal on that level together. Yes. Rise above all that.
Yes. So, gonna leave that at that.
But pretty much, we're gonna talk about any and everything. Obviously, hopefully, when we gain an audience, we can start doing podcasts on topics that y'all want to hear about, and not just things that we have to, think of straight off the dome. Because
we're gonna be as organized as possible. Yeah. Because we don't want to just jump on here and just say random stuff. Like, we want to do our research, and we want to come from a place of love and grace and just knowledge. Like, I want you to be rest assured that we're not just some two girls just talking about our opinions and, just throwing that out there.
Just throwing caution to the wind.
But I do think it's really important to use your platform, especially if you're going to be somewhat of an influencer, like online as a job. Yeah. It is so important how you use it. Yeah. I believe that all of us have some kind of influence, whether you're on social media or not. But this is a big responsibility. Yeah. And we want to do it right.
And if we're going to take it on, we're going to do it right.
Yes. And that's another reason why it took us so long to start, because we
have to get to that level of like
understanding what we're doing.
It's kind of like what Zoria said in the beginning, and it kind of wrap up this podcast because it's getting a little long.
I know, it's just talking.
But how Zoria said that she is my accountability partner and I'm hers. I want to be y'all's, and I want y'all to be ours. To hold each other accountable. That's what really the gospel is, to hold each other's hands through life.
And love one another.
And love one another. Not to throw shame and mock and all that stuff. That is the devil's work. It's the devil and his friends, and he is having fun using you. Yeah. We, as Christians, have to remember that we are doing this together. We are all a working part of the body of Christ. And
we're living for eternity.
We need each other. The podcast that we want to talk about pride, in the gay sense and the biblical sense, in the, I guess, actual sense of having pride, a closed fist can receive nothing. So as Christians, if we open up our hearts, open up our hands, our eyes, our ears, remove that veil, and be willing to hear something different, to share a different perspective, but share the same pain, we will make a bigger difference than we even thought we could, because we're stronger together. Yes. And people, I will say this and leave it at this, but the whole Black Lives Matter movement has hijacked that and made it into a racial thing. But stronger together has nothing to do with white, black, Mexican, Indian people. It means as humans, we are stronger together. And I believe as Christians, we are stronger than ever together.
Yes. But with God.
With God. Yes, ma'am.
I've got to hold my tongue. We have to leave it at that. Yeah. But as you can see, we're going to be saying some bold statements on this podcast.
Sometimes I don't even know I'm being bold until somebody goes, I And I'm like, oh, girl, I'm sorry that hurt your feelings. I'm sorry, that was a good Lord. Read the word. I'm sorry.
Look, we're growing. We are learning. I'm sure, like I said, looking back on this, I can't wait to see what we hear, what we see from this day. I hope we remember doing this. We're literally just sitting on our couch.
We're going to remember.
Talking. It's going to be so cute. But we have big plans. We're going to have guests.
Yeah.
We're going to have, I guess I can say it, merch. We're going to have so many things. And I'm so excited.
It's going to be a grand time. And I can't wait to share it with you guys.
I've got a spreadsheet.
I can't wait.
On the computer. Well, not a Word document.
Yes.
Of all the ideas that we have. And I'm just praying that
I can't wait to see what kind of family comes out of this. Yeah. I know there's going to be a lot of haters that comes with everything, but I am so excited to see how many people that I'm going to touch, but how many people are going to touch me.
Yeah.
And it's really going to break me down. I'm becoming a marshmallow. I have this hard interior, but I've always been sensitive, but I am slowly becoming a crybaby. And I am going to be one of those people that are going to boo-hoo cry real tears and not afraid to hug people. And I'm kind of excited for that because that's been something we have been kind of struggling with, which kind of
humility. And
it kind of talks about like another topic that we're going to hopefully talk about on the podcast about learning how to love and how to love.
Yeah.
And taking off your armor. Like you put on your armor of God when you go out and face the world, but you should be able to take that off when you get home.
And I hope this is home for people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was so sweet. Well, we're going to stop talking.
Yes. Follow us on all our social media.
Follow us on everything. Our Instagram together is Zinia and Zoria L. Also, that is the name of our YouTube channel. It's a vlog channel, kind of lifestyle channel.
Also link down below.
Yes. Obviously, she's told you, Honestly Podcast with 2 T's is on Instagram, and it also has its own YouTube channel called Honestly Podcast. And then my Instagram is Zinia Lachey, and Zoria's Instagram is
Zoria Lene, hence the L at the end of Zinia and Zoria L.
If you're curious, it's our middle name.
Yes, Lene and Lachey is our middle name.
Yes.
So we have the same initials. ZLD, sis.
We're one person.
And I would like to end this off by saying that I'm happy to do this with my sis because like I said, as we've grown up and moved out and had our own home and all these things, and we didn't go to college, we have each other. And that's really, it feels like that's all we have sometimes.
Yep. The only other consistent thing in my life past God is my sister.
Yes. My sis.
So annoying.
We're not very emotional people, so we just make it funny. But no, I'm really excited to do this with my sister. I feel like I said, it's not a purpose that we were not brought here alone. We have each other, same age.
You said it's not on purpose, or you mean not by accident?
Not by accident.
All right.
I'm sorry, it was not by accident that we were brought here together, and that, I don't know, it's just proven itself time and time again.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this very first podcast. I think we made it long enough.
I know. I mean, podcasts are usually around 40 minutes long.
Yeah, I didn't want it to, I was thinking once we start talking, this supposed to be short.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. When we first started, I was like, we got to keep going. It's only at 15 minutes.
Yes. But, streaming on all platforms soon. Woohoo! But definitely on YouTube.
And the Instagram, a little snippet.
Yeah.
Or maybe the whole thing for a little bit until we get it figured out.
Yes. So, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Be yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be free in what God offers you. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
That is so exciting. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Zinia and Zo out.